What's up everyone, my name is Alpha and today we're back with another Pokemon challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon Sun and today's challenge will be can I beat Pokemon Sun Hardcore Nuzlocke Poison Shiny only. Now I've asked in my YouTube community section about like a week ago and I asked them what typing should I use for my next hardcore run, and a lot of people keep saying poison, which I don't know, a lot of people really like poison types. And he also says Sun and Moon, which I was kind of hoping, like I threw it out Sun and Moon, but I was kind of hoping everyone said X and Y, but everyone said Sun and Moon, so I decided to go on Sun and Moon and try my best out on it. So here are the rules, quickly run down the rules. Boom pow, that's all the rules right there for you. The final rule that's not stated there, all my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in the comments. So thank you so much for leaving a comment in the previous challenge video. If you guys want to be nicknamed after a Pokemon in my future challenge videos, just drop in the comments and hopefully I'll pick yours. And while you're down here, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Let's aim for 1,000 likes to greatly help my channel out and continue these series. I'll do Radical Red, I'll do ROM hacks, and I'll also always do these shiny Hardcore Nuzlocke because they're kind of fun. Will I do them on ROM hacks? Well, we'll have to see them in the future. But anyways, let's get into the challenge video itself. Now, as many of you guys know, there is not a poison starter Pokemon in Sun and Moon, so unfortunately we had to play through the tutorial of the game without a starter Pokemon until we beat the first like mini boss of the game. We beat Hao at the ceremony fight, and then once it's nighttime, once we could change the clock to nighttime and we have Pokeballs, we could go out in Route 1 in this area over here. Route 1 is huge, so you want to go to this specific area to find yourselves a Spinarak. Spinarak is going to be our first shiny Pokemon of the game, the first poison type Pokemon. And we're going to spend a little bit of time to shiny hunt for a Spinarak and then finally find it. Now this will be our starter Pokemon, our only Pokemon that we can use for the start of the game. We're going to catch the Spinarak and head into Hao-Orly City, I think that's how you say it. Hao-Orly City, something like that. But once you get in there, there is another patch of grass in here that allows you to catch the next poison type Pokemon. A lot of you guys should know this by now, but we're going to look out for our Alolan Grimers, which will be a poison and dark type Pokemon. Very interesting. We finally find ourselves a shiny Grimer, which is regular Cantonian Grimer colors, which is really nice. I like that color swap. Very cool. We added to our team and now we could finally move on. Our next spot to hunt is going to be in the cemetery. The cemetery has two Pokemon that we could possibly get. One is going to be a Zubat and the other one is going to be a Ghastly. Now, since the higher spawn rate is Ghastly, we assume it was going to be a Ghastly. Fortunately though, we find ourselves a shiny Zubat on accident. So I wasn't expecting this, I was expecting Ghastly. But we found ourselves a Zubat here, and we have to put it on our team since this is a Nuzlocke, the first shiny Pokemon you find in the route, you must catch. So we catch ourselves a Zubat, and then we can face off against the first trial in the game. The first trial in the game is going to be against these Gumshoes. This is going to be the normal trial, and we're going to start the battle off against the Gumshoe using Poison Gas. It's going to have a Pekka Bear, which is fine because I could still Poison Gas both the Yungoos and the Gumshoes. And now they're on a timer, and Grimer can stall them out pretty well. I switch in between all three of my Pokemon just in case, I don't want to lose my Pokemon at all, especially on the first trial. We easily beat the Gumshoes, and then we have to switch out to our Grimer to finish off against the Yungoos, but we end up beating the first trial of the game fairly easily. Now, if you guys do not notice, the level cap in the bottom left will be determined by all the kahunas of the game. There is 4 kahuna fights, I think 4 kahuna fights for each island, and obviously those are going to be the level cap. First kahuna we're going to face off against is going to be Hala. Hala is going to be the fighting type kahuna of Melee Island, and we start the battle off against him using my Zubat. Zubat is going to wing attack into his Mankey. Even though he does a bit of chip damage to me, I'm able to wing attack him again and knock him out without him using a potion. And then he's going to switch out to his Makuhita, which I'm able to 2-shot. Since I also have inner focus, I don't get flinch, I knock him out fairly easily. And then he's going to switch out to his Crab Brawler, which I know it has a Z move on him. I don't want to get hit by the Z move. I might be 4 times resistant against it, but I don't think I could survive it. I switch out to my Grimer, which may be a bad play. I should have switched out to my Spinarak, but it would have got pursued after that anyway, so it didn't matter. I decided to let it power punch me and poison gas it. Then I switch out to my Spinarak, which at this point it's not looking good. It looks like he's going to knock out one of my Pokemon. So I decided to stay in with my Spinarak, let him knock out my Spinarak. Unfortunately, it's tough. I wanted to use an Ariados for once, but unfortunately we gotta put him away. And then I switch out to my Zubat, outspeed the Crab Brawler, and I'm able to wing attack and knock out the Crab Brawler. And we beat Hala and already put a death on the scoreboard. So unfortunately there is not a deathless run. I think my challenge for this entire year is try to get a deathless run on a Sun and Moon Hardcore Nuzlocke. That will be a story to tell. So from there, we're gonna head into the water route in Akala Island. We're gonna face out against Wishy-Washy, the totem fight, and start the battle off against him using my Grimer once again. We're gonna poison gas into him, poison him down, and he crits me with a water gun, which is unfortunate. Kind of annoying, but that's fine. I think I can survive another one. So I attack him again with a poison fang. It would get him down to pretty low HP, so I can switch out to my Golbat. Golbat, evolved from Zubat, is actually pretty tanky. I'm able to two-shot the Wishy-Washy, and at this point I don't need to attack him once again because the poison would knock him out. So I decided to focus on the other Wishy-Washy and end the totem fight and clear through the totem fight pretty easily with my Golbat, and we cleared through that. And now we have access to Surf, which allows us to go out into Route 7, I believe, and in Route 7 there is a poison type Pokemon for us to catch. The poison Pokemon we're going to try to search out for is a Tentacool. We spend a little time finding the Tentacool and eventually catch it on our team. This is actually a pretty decent Pokemon, Tentacool, because it's also a water type Pokemon. We're going to head to the base of the West Peak Volcano. I think that's what it's called. In this route, we can find ourselves some Salandit, which evolves into a Salazzle. Now, I was going to re-roll without telling anyone this. I was going to keep hunting for a shiny female Salandit. But luckily for me, the first shiny Pokemon I found was a shiny Salandit that was actually female. So I didn't have to re-roll and just cut it out. So we found ourselves a shiny Salandit and added to our team, which is amazing because it's also female, which will allow it to evolve. And then from there, we're going to move out and face off against the next trial in the game. We're going to face off against the Fire Trial. Now, the Fire Trial for the Nuzlocke is actually pretty hard because, unfortunately, you have to face off against two Pokemon without any healing in between. You have to face off against a Alolan Marowak and also a trainer with a Magmar. As you can see, my Golbat gets Flame Body, so it's actually weakened it. And I can't switch him out, I can't heal him up when I face off against the Totem Salazzle. Now, this Totem Salazzle is pretty difficult in a nutshell. I should have attacked it, thinking back, but I confused rated, trying to bait in some attacks. I went out to my Tentacool next. Tentacool is going to Water Pulse into it, but I get Tormented, so I had to switch out. I didn't want to stay in. I switched out to my Grimer, which, good play. Unfortunately, I went for the bad execution of trying to disable it because it taunts me. Now I can't even use Disable, so I just overthought it. I was about to lose my Pokemon at this point, but I switch out to my Tentacool once again. I do some damage against him, and then finally switch out to my Salandit. It'll take any hits from the Salazzle, and I'm able to Dragon Rage into the Salazzle and knock him out fairly easily. And then I can switch out to my Golbat to knock out the Salandit, and we end up beating the Fire Trial. And that was close. Moving on though, we head into the Grass Trial. The Grass Trial is actually pretty easy. We have a Crobat now, as you see on the top right. Crobat is the final evolution of Zubat, and it's actually pretty tanky, especially for this stage of the game. Is very good as well. I two-shot the Lurantis. Normally Lurantis gives me a hard time. Not for this run. So Lurantis gets two-shotted to his face, and I'm able to knock out the Grass Trial fairly easily, as we're also getting beat down in Cast Room without any issues. We're not going to learn Poison Fang because Cross Poison is just so much more broken. And we clear through all 3 trials on this island. Now moving on, we're not done quite yet. We have to go fishing in Route 9 for a long time. There is a thing you gotta find. You gotta find a 5% Corsola, and then you gotta save before you do that because you want to reset every time, because you want to activate its SOS hunting, which allows you to SOS spawn a Marini, which is a poison water type Pokemon that's only found through SOS Corsola. So eventually it took a little bit and we don't gain too many levels, and we're able to find ourselves a shiny Marini, and we're able to capture it with a dive ball, and we add it to our team. It took a very long time, but we're able to get that very cool shiny Pokemon and a very cool evolutionary line into Toxapex. And we're gonna head into Memorial Hill, which allows us to finally find a next poison type Pokemon, which is going to be a Ghastly. Ghastly, obviously, we found earlier, but we didn't find a shiny version of it, so we're able to catch it in this route. We find a shiny Ghastly. Unfortunately, we can't evolve it to a Gengar because it's kind of single player. We don't, we can't really trade. We never do trade evolutions on this channel. But anyways, we catch ourselves a Ghastly, and now we move on into the next trial of the game. Actually, the next Kahuna of the game. The Kukui we're going to face off against is going to be Olivia. I start scalding down Nose Pass, which, I mean, it's working out. I got the Skull Burn, and I'm able to knock him out. I also set up some Toxic Spikes, so I could get the Lycanroc Toxic. It switched out to his Boulder, which I wasn't expecting. I decided to go out into my Haunter, which Haunter can evade any ground-type moves, and I'm able to Nightshade it. 3-shot it looks like, and I'm able to knock out the Boulder eventually. He's going to force out into his Lycanroc, which is obviously going to Z-move me, which is quite annoying. So I decided to go out to my Grimer, which has an Eviolite on. Grimer can take Continental Crush, which is crazy, through 2 Rock Throws, which is nice. And we're able to knock out the Lycanroc and beat Olivia. And that got very scary. I thought I was going to lose a Pokemon here. There's certain points where I just kind of let it go. I was like, oh, I'm going to lose a Pokemon here for sure. Now from there though, we're not done. We're gonna move out into the mountains. We're gonna face off against the electric trial in the game. We're gonna face off against the Vigavolt up here. The Vigavolt is going to be the next totem Pokemon, which I have a new Salazzle on my team. Salazzle is going to Flame Burst. I'm not too sure why I didn't use Z-moves too much. I forgot Z-moves were a thing, I'm not gonna lie. So I should have knocked out the Vigavolt in 2 shots, but well, I just switch out to my Crobat next to knock him out using a wing attack, and then it finally crushed down the Charger Bug. We're able to beat down the electric trial fairly easily. From there, we're going to go out into Malia City. I think that's what it's called. Malia City, Malia City, something like that. And our next poison Pokemon is going to be in the outskirts of this town. It's not going to be a Grimer. It's going to be a Trubbish. We'll eventually find. It's not the hardest Pokemon to find, but it's also not the best Pokemon to find. It's the last poison type Pokemon we can catch on this entire run. So obviously we're gonna catch it and put it on our team. As we move on into the next trial, we're gonna face off against the ghost trial of the game. We're gonna face off against the Mimikyu. So I start the trial off with my Crobat, which will not outspeed the Mimikyu somehow. The Mimikyu still outspeeds me. It's gonna Shadow Claw into my Crobat, which doesn't do too much. I'm able to break his disguise, which is nice. Since I was Haunter, which is annoying, but I'm able to survive a Sucker Punch and a Shadow Claw as I crit him using my Cross Poison, which is amazing for me. So I decided to switch out into my own Haunter. I sack him because I needed a free switch in. I needed to sack something. So I decided to go out into my Grimer and then knock him out using a Poison Fang. Did not to knock him out. I get Hypnosis and I fell asleep. I already risked my Haunter. I gotta risk my Grimer, because I can't do anything else. Everything else dies in like 1 or 2 shots. Luckily, it goes for a Mimic as the Haunter goes for a Nightshade. So I survive another turn. I wake up first turn, and then I'm able to poison twice against the Mimikyu and knock him out with both Poison Touch and the Poison Fang, which is amazing. So from there, I'm able to knock out the Haunter, and geez, that would have been so bad if I stayed asleep or if it just didn't go for Mimic. So I'm able to beat down the Mimikyu, and we're able to move on from the Ghost Trial. From there though, we move on into Po Town and we beat down Guzma fairly easily using my Crobat. Crobat is my ace Pokemon, it's my favorite Pokemon right now. It's just so easy to use, it's speedy and does so much damage. I'm eventually going to get acrobatics for it. And then next up, we're going to face off against the next Kahuna of the game. We're going to face off against Nanu. Nanu's going to be the dark type Kahuna of the game. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Crobat. Just beat down his Sableye as he goes out into his Persian next. I'm fairly easily. I know I can survive a Dark Hole Eclipse or Black Hole Eclipse, so I'm just Leech Lifing into the Persian, and then when I get low enough from his Power Gems, I switch out to my Muck. Muck is going to Poison Fang into the Persian. Unfortunately, it does not get a poison, but I got a poison on the Krokorok. My mistake, I completely looked away for a second, and then I didn't realize the Krokorok was in, so I went for another Poison Fang against the Krokorok. Luckily, I lived the Earthquake, so that was a mistake on my part. I went out to my Toxapex next. So I decided at this point this is a fairly poor situation I'm in right now. So I decided to go out to my Garbodor. I know Garbodor can live in attack. It also has weak armor, so I get a +2 speed against the Krokorok, which is nice. And I'm able to knock him out using a Sludge Bomb. Next up, he's going to switch back into his Persian, and I assume he's going to go for a Dark Hole Eclipse. So I decided to go out to my Tentacruel next. Tentacruel is going to get hit with a Fake Out, which is fine. I go for a Scald. I live a Black Hole Eclipse fairly easily, and then I can live another Dark Pulse. Luckily, I don't get flinch, and I'm able to knock out Nanu's Persian, and we beat through the Dark Trial of the game. That was scary. All these battles come very close. And next up, we're going to face off against Guzma once again, and also Loosamine. Not too hard fights at all. And then we face off against the next Kahuna in the game, just like that, back to back. We're going to face off against Hapu. Hapu is actually the one I knew I was going to lose a Pokemon to. Hapu is going to be the ground type Kahuna of the game. We're going to start the battle off against her Dugtrio with a Scald from my Toxapex. Actually, one-shots him. I didn't think it would one-shot him, but it one-shot him. That's fairly nice. She goes out to her Mudsdale next. I go out to my Crobat to bait in the Z. Yep, ground Z move, just completely negated. I go out for a Confusion against the Mudsdale. I go for a Poison with Cross Poison. It's not Cross Poisoning. It's not working out. It's going to Heavy Slam me, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I went out to my Tentacruel, which I thought Skull would knock him out. It did not knock him out. Luckily enough, the burn saved my life, so that could have been really bad too. Oh my god, I'm getting very lucky with all these plays. She then goes out to her Flygon next. I'm decided to go out to my Crobat to avoid the Earth Power, and then go out to my Muck to get poison on it. And then I can switch back into my Crobat to my Salazzle in between all of them to knock them out eventually, to avoid any ground moves in between. And my Crobat's able to knock out the Flygon eventually. Next up, our Gastrodon comes on next. I went out into my Toxapex to eventually Toxic it, and then go out to my Crobat, go into my Garbodor, switch in between. Someone in the comments told me I can't play Stall. I'm playing Stall amazingly. Look at this. I'm outstall Hapu so easily that I don't lose a single Pokemon. I eventually knock out Hapu, and we can eventually move on into the final trial of the game, where the final trial is not too difficult. We're going to face off against this Coma. This Coma is super effective against flying moves, so we're going to two-shot him using Acrobatics. It's 110 power from a Crobat. It's not knocking me out anytime soon. I'll outspeed him, knock him out, two-shot him, and then also knock out the Hackmo, and we'll clear through the trial. Next up, we're going to face off against Loosamine, and now Loosamine, not too big of a trouble at all. Crobat destroys the first two Pokemon fairly easily, and then she switch out to her Milotic, which misses her Hydro Pump, so I'm able to two-shot him as well. So this battle is going fairly easily. The Beware kind of scared me, so I went out to my Salazzle. Salazzle going to Nasty Plot up against him, and then knock him out. And it just used Pain Split. It doesn't do anything but Pain Split. It's just trash battle. I swear it was a hard battle at one point in my life when I was like, I don't know, 17. I promise you it was a harder fight. But from there, that's all she wrote. Now it's time for the Elite Four fights. We're going to head into the Elite Four and face off against the first Elite Four member of the game. We're going to face off against Hala. Hala is going to be the fighting type Elite Four member. You guys should know this by now. We're going to go out to my Crobat to start. My ace, my boy. Inner Focus blocks the Fake Out, and I one-shot the Hariyama with Acrobatics. He then goes out to his Crabominal. I assume this Crabominal is going to live something, so I decided to go out to my Toxapex to Scald it. Luckily enough, I do get some chip damage on it, so I could recover off. As he switches out to his Poliwrath, I go for a Toxic Spikes against him. I also went for a Toxic. I'm just going to stall out some turns so I could go back out into my Crobat eventually when it gets low and wants to heal up. And then Crobat is going to one-shot through the Poliwrath to knock him out. And Crabominal comes on next. At this point, it does have some chip damage onto it, so I'm able to one-shot him using Acrobatics. And his next Pokemon is going to be a Primate, which also gets one-shotted. So for some reason, use a Full Heal. And then his final Pokemon is going to be a Beaver, which I am able to do a lot of damage against him. Eventually, just wait for him to get low enough, which I can Acrobatics and knock him out. And we beat Hala. No problems at all, not lose a single Pokemon. And now we move on into the next fight of the game. We're going to face off against Olympia. Olympia's going to be the Rock type Elite Four member of the game. We're going to start the battle off against Olympia using my Muck. I haven't used this in a minute. I'm going to start the battle off trying to get a Poison Touch, trying to get a Defense Drop against a Relicanth. He's going to yawn me, which is quite annoying. I go out to my Toxapex next, trying to get a Toxic Spikes up and also trying to get a burn on him. Nothing's working except her yawns apparently. I also do not knock her out using this final Crunch, which is so annoying. I go back out to my Toxapex to set up Toxic Spikes and Toxic down to Relicanth. Switch back out into my Muck, which unfortunately, Ancient Powers get a stat boost up against me, which is so annoying. It's still yawning me, so I'm like, we gotta knock this thing out. Eventually, I am able to knock him out, and then she sends out her Probopass next. Her Probopass is pretty annoying because it's very tanky. I go out to my Crobat to break its sturdy. I don't know why I did that. None of my Pokemon can one-shot him. I didn't teach my Muck Brick Break, which would have helped me so much in this fight. But lucky enough, my Muck will handle down this Probopass just enough so I can switch out to my Tentacruel, to a Hydro Vortex, and knock out the Probopass. She switches out to her Golem next, which I'm like, whoa, who's going to step in? I switched out to my Salazzle first to get some chip damage off against him. And then it does enough at least. So I'm like, well, can't switch into any moves at this point. Go out to my Garbodor. Hopefully Garbodor can do some damage. She decides to actually opt in switching out to her Lycanroc next, which I'm like, okay, it worked out. I'm going to take the Z move, obviously. It's getting Continental Crush my Garbodor. I live it, just barely. Gunk Shot into the Lycanroc, and at this point, I'm like, nah. I got to go out into my Salazzle to sack him, because Salazzle is not going to be too useful going forwards. I sack my Salazzle. Unfortunately, that puts another death on the death counter. That's 3 deaths. Go out to my Tentacruel to knock out the Lycanroc, because I outspeed him. And then her final Pokemon will be a Golem, which I also Scald and knock it out. Well, now we finished the second Elite Four member. Oh wait, no, her final Pokemon will be a Carbink, which should not be a threat at all. Like, right, really. Hydro Pump, dead. Okay, now we beat the second Elite Four member. Unfortunately, we lose her Salazzle, but sometimes you gotta make sacrifices. From then, we're gonna face off against the Ghost type Elite Four member, the next Elite Four member. We're gonna start the battle off against her Sableye using my Crobat. Crobat is going to Acrobatics into the Sableye to two-shot him and knock him out. Doesn't look too hard. We're going to Leech Life him and also knock him out. So, not too bad. She goes out to her Frostless next, which is going to be the Ice-type Pokemon. So, I'm like, ooh, gotta go out into my Muck. Muck is a special defense wall. It's obviously getting one shot down across that fairly easily with a crunch. She goes out to her Palisade next, so at this point I'm like, I can't risk it because, you know, confusion might knock out my Muck with an earth power. So I go out to my Crobat, and then Crobat is going to acrobatics into the Palisade, take a Z move, never ending nightmare, which is fine. I take the Z move. I go out to my Tentacruel next. I'm gonna Hydro Vortex into the Palisade to knock him out, which is a great play. Maybe I should have done that in the first place, but that's okay. Dhelmise will come out next. I know I can survive any move. I'm trying to get a poison onto it, and once it hits me, it does a lot of damage. So I decided to switch out my Tentacruel into my Muck to knock out the Dhelmise with a crunch, and then her final Pokemon will be a Drifloon, which I'm able to crunch into, two-shot him, and knock him out. Fairly easy. We didn't lose a single Pokemon for once. And now we can face out against the next and final Elite Four member before the champion. We're going to start the battle off against a Flying type Elite Four member with my Tentacruel, because the Skarmory is going to be very weak to special moves. We're going to Skull Burn into the Skarmory, which is nice, so I could two-shot him, knock him out. She then switches out to her Manabus, which I'm trying to get some burn damage, trying to get any damage. It's going to Brave Bird me, and then I'm like, I gotta Skull Burn it. I gotta Skull Burn it. It goes for another Brave Bird, and I'm like, this is not looking good. This is absolutely not looking good. I go for a Hydro Vortex to knock out the Manabus at the very least, and then she can switch out to her Toucanon. Toucanon is going to do a lot of damage against my team. I go out to my Garbodor, it's going to get Z move, Supersonic Strike, is obviously going to knock out my poor Garbodor. That's the most tanky, physically tanky Pokemon on my team. It gets one-shotted. So I decided to go out to my Crobat next. Crobat's going to Acrobatics into the Toucanon. Unfortunately, it's going to Beak Blast me and get me burned, which is probably the only time I've got caught into that. Fortunately, Toucanon got that on me. I'm still able to 3-shot down its Oricorio, which is kind of funny. I don't though, because it air cutted me, does a lot of damage. I go out into my Muck to knock him out, which is nice. And then her final Pokemon will be her own Crobat, which is going to Supersonic me, which isn't the most accurate play, but I'm able to almost knock him out in one shot using my own Crunch. And at this point, I go out to my Toxapex to burn him down. He's actually a special attacker, so it's kind of more annoying. Could have just recover stalled him, but at this point, I just gotta crunch him and knock out the Crobat, and we end up beating the last Elite Four member of the game. Now it's time to face off against the champion. We're the champion, actually. We're gonna face off against Professor Kukui, which is gonna be a challenger. He's gonna start the battle off against us using a Lightning Rock. I go out to my Tentacruel. We're gonna Hydro Pump into him, just get rid of the Lightning Rock because this thing is kind of a threat. It's gonna crit me with a Stone Edge. Of course it does. Of course it's going to crit me with a Stone Edge. I go out for a Scald against the Snorlax that comes in next. It's gonna knock me out, which is unfortunate. I go out to my Toxapex next, trying to waste some turns because I assume my Crobat might not be able to knock him out. I go for some Toxic Spikes up, recover off against him. I have some berries on my Toxapex, which is gonna be useful, as I'm just going to recover stall him, get him down to low HP, and then switch out into my Crobat eventually. Crobat's able to Acrobatics into the Snorlax, which doesn't knock him out, which is actually a throw by me. Luckily, I don't get Body Slam paralyzed by it, and then he decides to quick switch into his Magnezone, which actually worked out great, because I actually broke his Sturdy, which is nice. I keep saying that like I'm going to one-shot it. I'm not going to one-shot it at all. So I'm also going to Confuse Ray him. He's going to get Confused in Confusion, which is nice. I go out to my Muck. Muck is going to all-out pummeling and one-shot down the Magnezone. This was the biggest threat. That's why I put his second Z move on. Magnezone will get knocked out fairly easily. He's actually going to send out his 1 HP Snorlax, which unfortunately gets a full restore onto him. So I go out for a Crunch. Luckily enough, I do get the physical defense drop, so I'm able to break into him. He lives with 1 HP exactly. He goes for a Heavy Slam. Luckily enough, I do knock him out in the second shot, but literally 1 HP. That's so annoying. He goes out to his Braviary next. I do have Gunk Shot as a move. Gunk Shot is getting 2-shot into the Braviary, which is nice. It sets up Tailwind, which is annoying. And then she switched out to her Ninetales. I decided to go out to my Toxapex. Toxapex is going to weaken it down. Also stalled out on these poison turns, which I also get frozen. But I break through with my Scald, which is pretty nice. And I'm able to knock out the Ninetales, which is amazing. And then the final Pokemon will be a Primarina, which at this point I need a sack. I need to play this exactly. I need to sack firstly my Toxapex by putting a poison on the Primarina, because I don't think my Pokemon can one-shot him. As well, my Muck's on low HP, and also my Crobat is not that strong with cross poison. So I need a Toxic Stall onto the Primarina. The Ninetales put up a safeguard, so this Primarina cannot get Toxic immediately. So from there, I'm going to go out to my Crobat. I know this Primarina has the Z move on it, so I decided to bait in my Muck to against the Z move. Obviously, it did Z move like I thought, and this battle should be over. He's going to knock out my Muck, which is fine. I go out to my Crobat, which at this point, Primarina cannot knock me out. I'm able to cross poison, knock out the Primarina, and we beat Professor Kukui, and we put 3 more deaths on the death counter. Oh my god. We lost our entire team through the Pokemon League, through the Elite Four, which is, I mean, at the very least, we beat the Elite Four. I mean, I'm not complaining, but we almost lost that. I don't think I could do anything differently. That was an intense battle at the end. Every single battle was pretty intense. My takeaway from this, poison type Pokemon are not the strongest Pokemon in the world. I can see why not a lot of people Nuzlocke poison type Pokemon. But I want to say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment down below some more challenge videos, ideas just like this one, and subscribe if you guys are not already. My name's been Alpha. Hope you guys all had a great day, and I'm out. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, feeling good.